I guess she can hear me. Yeah, there you go. All right.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight to the Ease of Gardening. This is Tarsha Shepard. She is a master gardener and naturalist. So enjoy.
Thank you.
Is that good?
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you guys made it. It would have been very upsetting if there was an empty room, right? No, I would have been okay. This is my, because guess what? I would have enjoyed planting with people or without. So I probably would have taken an hour and a half and just did my thing here and enjoyed it. Yes, ma'am.
I have 2 more coming.
Okay, great. So, and I'll just leave this up here for a minute and just let you guys, if in case you didn't see, I have this, what do they call these? QR codes. My grandson just left. He's a techie person. I'm the hands in the dirt person. I have this so that you can not only have my information, but I do have my cards, and sometimes I don't. So you can scan that, you'll get my contact information, you'll be able to send me questions, because just in case we run out of time and I don't really have time to answer questions, and you may think of something later, as a master gardener and as a person that I'm a 2021 master gardener graduate, and so I took the class back then, and then right after that, the next year, I did the master naturalist. So, so you would say, oh, well, what are those things? And oh, master, that means you're really great. Well, I will tell you that personally, I just feel that it is another way to socialize with people who like to do what you do. But we do spend a little bit more time, probably, than the average person in gardening or doing something to that effect, whether it be talking about it or helping someone with it, things like that. And so don't let that intimidate you by any means, by any person. It doesn't mean that we're a master. It just means that we are constantly engaged, learning more and more. And that's what I do. The other reason I have that is so that there's a few questions on there that you could see. And in case you can't think of anything, you can answer those, and it kind of helps me to know what material to cover, and perhaps the next time the library will, has space open to do this, then we can address more interested topics. The other thing I want to tell you is that I brought some books here because one of the things I get from people a lot is the books are very expensive and I can't afford them. Well, I want you to know that that little library over there, or that little bookstore over there, is where and bookstores like it at other libraries are where I buy all of my garden books. So there probably isn't anything that I pay more than 50 cents or $1 or $2. And I like I think I'm a Friends of the Library at maybe 20 different libraries, because every time I go out of town and I travel for Red Cross as a disaster assessment specialist, and I go, and I just got back from Jonesboro, and sure enough, I stop in the library and I sign up for their Friends, because I love shopping in their bookstore and I love finding gardening books, especially those that are a little bit older, so that I can find out what people did back when I was a child. And I love using those techniques. I don't believe that they're old. And I enjoy the new things, but I use a lot of the older methods. So I just have a quick little, very short PowerPoint, because I really don't want to spend time talking at you. I really want to be engaged with you, and I want to hear from you. So please interrupt me if you want to, add something to what I'm saying. But if you have a question, I'd rather you hold those off either to the end or use this scan, this barcode, okay? But please, if you're like, I have a big garden and I grow tomatoes and man, they came out great. I love hearing those stories. So one thing, a disclaimer is, so I'm a gardener of all things. I love vegetables, flowers, root vegetables especially I really love. But I love flowers, perennials, annuals, all of that. So you're not going to find that I'm partial to one thing, but I am more partial probably to vegetables. And so what I did bring today, I did bring some cantaloupe and some cucumber and garden bean and peppers and radish. And I'd like for you guys to see what it's like to start seed. If you never have, And so we're gonna do that towards the end. I'll have you come up. We're gonna kind of mix some seed start together, and we're gonna do that together. And I hope that you would enjoy doing that. So I didn't bring a lot of flowers. This is the reason I'm saying that. I did bring forget-me-not, because I just had that in my bag, and the lavender, which I use for teas and coffee, and I even put it in my salads and some stir fries. So I do have some things up here that we're gonna do some seed start with. So welcome. Thank you for being here. Oh, I guess I should say something about myself. My introduction was really short, and that's not your fault. I don't think I told her anything. We met for coffee, and I told her everything about me, and she told me everything about her, and then we scheduled this. So we had a good time, but she can't be here today. So my name is Tarsha Shepard, and I moved to Arkansas in 2020. I was driving down the road, and I was moving here because I am a naturalist. I actually moved while I was working in a clinic in Colorado for 2 years. I trained there in farming and sustainability, and I trained in natural remedies, essential oils, things like that. And I was coming here to check out a clinic in Decatur. Well, I did not know what was happening at the time, but I'm on the road and I don't watch the news, and where I was coming from was Loveland, Colorado, and in Loveland, there's a 100-acre farm, and it's a retreat center where people go, to get some healing from cancer and other diseases, not necessarily they're going to be healed, but more so the doctors have said there's nothing else we can do, and so they're looking for other options. So I'm working there and training there, and I was supposed to leave and go to a foreign land and be there for 5 years contract, but then COVID happened, and I wasn't able to go, so I'm on the road, and they announced that everything was shutting down. And it was March 20th, I think it was, or March 16th, I'll never forget, 2020, and I'm on the road driving here, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to be able to get gas, I'm not going to be able to do anything. I get here, and everything's getting shut down. By that Sunday, there was nothing. So I was really, what am I going to do? There's nothing to do. I was going to do Red Cross classes and teach and all of that, but that wasn't going on because nobody could be together. So I was just sitting home bored, and I put a seed in a pot, and I watched it grow. And that's how I became a gardener. Is that amazing? Yeah. And since then, because I fell in love with it, I have gone around and I put in gardens from here to the Delta, just volunteering my time. And if someone says they're willing to let me put a garden in their yard or on their land, then I go and I do it. And then I walk away hoping that they will continue it. A lot of times they do, a lot of times they don't. So that's pretty sad, that we would put in a full half-an-acre garden or 10 raised beds, or sometimes 100. I had one garden one year, my first year, which was 100 bucket, and that's why I have that to show you that you can grow in buckets. Okay, so my first garden ever was 100 bucket garden, and it looks. My grandson was trying to get the pictures up, and I'm so sorry. He couldn't figure it out because I don't know where all my pictures are. I just take them. I don't know what happens to them after I take them. But I'm going to get better about that, I promise. But my first garden was 100 of these on a 4-acre property in Garfield, Arkansas. And I grew everything in here. I grew flowers, potatoes, onions, tomatoes, everything you can think of, herbs. I grew everything in these totes, and I had 100 of them. And we ate a lot of vegetables that year. I would always start with putting sticks and gravel and things in the bottom, and I would probably have about this much soil or compost. So I typically, whenever you're growing, I typically start about right there. So anyway, so then I took the Master Gardener course and then the Master Naturalist, like I said. I fell in love with gardening. I decided to enroll in some classes over at Oregon State University in soil science because I heard a professor say it starts with the soil. Okay, and it does. It starts with the soil. And I fell in love with it. And then the University of Arkansas started having what's called CAF, Center for Farms and Food. And so anybody can go. Their classes are open to the public. They're on the farm on your way headed into town. Somebody knows the name of the word. I'm sorry, I can't think of it.
Garland?
Garland, yes, Garland. So you drive down Garland, and where the center is down in Big Farm, that's where it is, and they have so many classes. So if you're interested in hearing from real farmers, and the University of Arkansas, they have that CAF program. They're a separate entity from what I understand, but they offer classes where you could take it online and you could learn a lot. So if you're interested in going any further, I would say, because that's what I did. So I did that for 2 years, engaged with them in all their programs and everything, and it was just amazing. They do farm tours, so I would go out on farm tours and I would talk to farmers and see how they're doing things. A lot of these farmers were people that sold their vegetables at the farmer's market. So that's just a little bit about me. I hope that's enough about me because I don't want to talk about me anymore. So thank you for being here. So like I said, my name is Tarsha Shepard, and I believe that gardening is so easy and that it is very good for you. I believe everybody should have a garden. I don't believe that it should be something that's only for any particular people group. I think that everybody should have a garden, especially if they have families and especially if they eat food. I believe that you should have a garden. If you don't, you're missing out. I was in the store the other day and I think a bell pepper was $1.50. What? Does anybody agree to that? Yeah? Okay. Yeah.
One bell pepper costs $1.50?
One bell pepper. So I don't know about you, but I typically grow a lot of bell peppers, and you slice them up, and there's ways you can freeze them. So you don't have to buy bell peppers if you don't want to. Okay? You need to have a really good water source. That's really important. So I've had people tell me, well, I have 20 acres, but I don't know, I want to put a garden out there. And I'm thinking, okay, do you have water? Do I need that? Well, yeah, I mean, does it rain here every week? You could get away with not having water if it would rain, a good rain every week, probably. I've had that happen. And so, no, you need water for your garden. So wherever you choose to have your garden, you want to make sure your water source is nearby. A friend of mine allowed me to put a garden on his property. He has 20 acres. It's in another property in Garfield. And at the property, it was about, I don't know, maybe about 3 blocks, if you will, from the building that had the water. And he says, this is where I'm going to put you. I'm going to put a fence up for you, Tarsha, and I'm going to till this for you and help yourself. And I thought, okay, and it was about 1/4 of an acre. And I said, where's the water? And he said, down there. And I said, okay, how am I going to get to it? So after 3 years of doing that with water hoses, and I bought a lot of water hoses and connected them, last year he came in with these trucks and everybody, and I'm thinking, what's going on? He put in a water source right by my garden. He says, I love what you're doing. You grow all of this food for all of these people absolutely free. There's no way that you should be suffering this way with this water hose. So he put that in, and now at that garden there's a big there's a big spout there to run the hose right to the garden. So I love that. I don't ever use irrigation for watering because I love to spend the time with the plants. So if you're using an irrigation source, just be very careful because sometimes they overwater, sometimes they stop working, and you might think you're on vacation and you have it on the timer and it's not working. So you want to be careful with that. I would definitely make sure that when you are watering your plants that you check the weather, because if it's going to rain and you water everything and then it just pours, you've just kind of wasted that time of watering. It's not going to hurt your plants per se, maybe not, but you should check the water, the weather to make sure. So, but having a good water source is extremely important. Anyone ever had a garden that they started and did not have a water source? No? Okay, good. Okay, well, the other thing I want to say about water too is, I will tell you, the first year that I did a garden at a community, well, it's not a community center, it's a church in Rogers, and it was actually last year. They had a water source, but it got damaged. So everything was in. I had grown over 700 plants, and I put them all in this garden. And it was probably about a 1/2 acre land. And so I just said, well, everything's in, and so what I had to do was, one of my professors at Oregon State, they used the mulching method. So I decided to bring in a ton of mulch, and I put in mulch over every plant, and I just saturated that
Like
with
what kind of
water.
mulch?
I'm sorry?
Like what kind of mulch?
Natural mulch from
But I mean,
just
like
natural
wood,
trees.
paper,
Just natural trees, it's a mixture. I don't ever ask them, I just tell the guys, hey, if I'm on your route, drop off mulch, I really would love
roundup
that.
trees.
Yep.
Okay.
And sometimes I would buy, different things I can find in the store, as long as it didn't have dyes and bleaches. I didn't want any of that. So I smothered everything with mulch, and I did rows and rows, and I called a bunch of people, and I said, I need you guys to help with the mulch. And they all came in, and they helped mulch all of these 700 plants. And guess what? That garden survived all summer on rainwater and mulch. Heavy mulch soaks in the water, and so you can have water for your plants longer than you would if they were not mulch. And it also helped to keep the ground covered, because a good covered ground also keeps a lot of moisture, so that's really important. And I actually just put in a garden with a friend in Missouri, and that entire garden is mulched probably about 3 or 4 inches, and they're hoping that it just gets rid of a lot of the weed problem that they had before. And I asked them the other day, okay, how's it going? They said that it was going really well. There's a lot of people that use mulching to help with moisture for their plants, so you can find a lot of those videos on YouTube. So definitely a good water source. The other thing you want to do is good soil. You want to have good soil. You want to test your soil, and you could do that. Where are we? Let's forget where we are. You can do it right on Garland. I think that's Garland, at the extension office, right? Or if you're in Bentonville, you can do it at that extension office. But this one is closer, so it's really easy to do. You can stop by there, and I'm so sorry, I usually bring those with me, and you can get a soil testing packet, and you can have your soil tested. If you don't have time to go there and you don't want to go there, if you text me, I will make sure you get one if I mail it to you or drop it off or whatever. It's not a problem.
How much does
And
it cost?
it's free.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's free, but don't quote me on that. There's so much changing in our country.
Yep.
So I can say something's free that's been free forever, and then all of a sudden there's a charge.
Yeah.
So why use compost? I love using compost, but the 2 gardens that I talked to you about earlier, their soil was so great. So don't get intimidated by trying your soil. Just test it out first and see what's in your ground. Just dig a good deep hole and check your own soil. Test it out and see, instead of bringing in extra things that you may not need. They'll let you know what your soil needs. So, but the composting places, does anybody know where they are in Fayetteville?
City of Fayetteville.
City of Fayetteville.
I know there's one over at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church, and there's
Okay.
another one outside of Omni.
Okay, there you go, there's another one. There's also several in Fayetteville that sell their compost, okay? So if you want free compost, go to the City of Fayetteville, or Bentonville will sell it to you for, I think, 10 or 20 bucks a truckload if you're not a resident. So, and that's probably the same in Fayetteville, I don't know. But there's places you can go and get compost, and you can fill in to enrich your current soil. That's a good thing to do if you need that. So I typically only use compost if I'm growing in containers, or if I'm growing in a raised bed, I add compost. And what I usually do, and again, I'm so sorry that I did not bring pictures of my garden. I'm so hands-on, and I usually have ever do presentations. This is the first one ever. So I apologize, but I will work on that so that you can see what I've actually done. So what I do is I would take the compost and I would fill the raised bed. First I would fill it up, probably about halfway, with sticks and gravel and different things, leaves, because you don't need all of that soil to be in that raised bed. And so then I would bring it up to a certain level where I would have about 2 to 3 feet of soil. And 2 to 3 inches of soil from the top, okay? So you could do that with your compost, or you could add things like vermiculite, peat moss, worm casting. You can do a 1 to 2 ratio on those, but it just depends on your raised bed and the size. So I highly recommend that if you get a raised bed and you buy a bag of vermiculite, a bag of raised bed potting soil, a bag of peat moss, any of those things, the directions are on the back. I don't typically look at this, I actually never have, but I recommend that you do, okay? Because I have noticed that when people follow the directions, they are less likely to make big mistakes. And since I can afford to make mistakes and try again, yeah. So please read the back of your seed packets and your soil packets and any other thing you use. All of my gardens, I use 0 pesticides. So that is not on my list. It's not gonna be on my list. I'm not gonna say have a pesticide. If I ever use anything, I may use peppermint oil mixed with water, or baking soda mixed with water, or I may use Dawn soap mixed with water, and very little of that. And I spend time with my plants. So it's very important to spend time with your plants, because then you can catch things early. So good soil, test your soil, use compost, because it adds nutrients that your soil may not have. If you can afford to go down and get compost or get the free stuff, you know, you need a truck,
Create your own.
you know, you need to do that. So, but it's not necessary unless you have a test and you realize that your soil needs something. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay. Hey, I didn't even recognize. Oh, okay. So the benefits, for me, it's physical health. Gardening is a great form of exercise. Digging and planting and weeding and watering can improve your physical strength and endurance. Last year I had a really bad car accident towards the beginning of the year, and then again towards the end of the year. So as I was getting rid of one thing, another thing happened. So I ended up, you know, gaining weight, and that's not a good thing. I have actually gained quite a bit of weight, and the doctor says that I'm very inflamed. So I'm working hard for gardening season this year to be foods that will be anti-inflammatory to help me this year, so that I can get back to the health that I was when I started this gardening. But that doesn't deter me, because I'm still a very healthy and strong person. So I'm going to get back into the garden so that I can have my physical strength and endurance. And I suggest that everybody does that. It helps with your wildlife, and it contributes to a healthier ecosystem. We all know that when we have plants in our home and around our house, it helps with the air we breathe. It helps our entire community if we do that. It helps with your mental health. So time in nature. I heard a person tell me the other day that they love forest bathing. I love forest bathing. It was brought out, I think, by the Japanese perhaps, or an Asian culture, but I tell you, it is so relaxing. You just go out. I do mine at Crystal Bridges or either at Compton Gardens, and I just go out and I notice nature, and I might sit and take notes, notice something that I didn't see before and write it down or draw a picture of it, and I just sit and I meditate and I think and I pray. And it's just a wonderful thing to do. So if you're high stressed, and I have been high stressed, I can tell you it works, and it definitely works with reducing stress, anxiety, and depression. Disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, check with your doctors, but for me personally, it helped me tremendously. So cost saving, seed grows only, needing water, soil, and the sun. So if you knew early that you're gonna, be having a little bit of a financial issue, or perhaps groceries are getting tight, then doing a seed tray of your favorite vegetables. And this is, I think, a 72 tray. And you could grow all of these things. You might think, well, where do I have the space? Again, in buckets and pots and totes. I saw a guy using a bucket about the size of this. I think he saved all of his Folger coffee tins. And they were about this high up off the ground, really, honestly, about this high. And he had lots of them. And in each one was a cabbage head, and each one was onions. He had all of his vegetables out in his garden. I said, this is amazing. And I went out and took a picture, which I can't show you right now. But honestly, there's no excuse. There's so many ways to grow food. You do not need to have a big space to do it. You can do it on your porch, on your balcony. You just need water, soil, and sun. And you need the seeds. which there's a seed bank here. Anybody been to the seed bank here?
Did they
Yeah.
open it back up?
I don't know, I'll ask her.
Because it was closed down, had, talked about the Baker
The
Street.
seed bank back up? Yay, she says yes.
Okay, cool.
So, you know, after we're done here, maybe we can all go up there and get us some seeds. So anyway, so this is a really good thing. Rogers has one, Bentonville has one, Springdale has one, and Fayetteville has. So they all have seed banks. And all of these seeds, every seed that you could possibly want to grow pretty much, are usually in their seed bank. And since these are sponsored, there's always some contact information. So if there's a seed that you need, maybe for health or other reasons, they'll help you get them. And if you can't find the seed you need, you call me and I'll help you find it. So that should not be an excuse for growing a garden. And if you need totes or whatever, you know, I will go out with you and scrummage. I think when we did that, the 100 tote, we did it all from the recycling center. We called them up and we said, if anybody brings totes or bins, please let us know. And they saved them for me. They were so excited somebody was going to use them and they didn't have to deal with them. So please, recycle if you can. And if you can't, and you can buy them, do buy them. They're pretty inexpensive. All right, so companion planting. A lot of times people are wondering, what should I plant with what? I'm going to tell you, you know, as a new gardener, and I say new because I'm only 4 years old, and there's people here that have probably been gardening their whole lives and their parents were gardeners. My parents were not gardeners, so I cannot say that, but I can tell you that companion planting is per person. It is as you need it to be. I do more of that when I'm planting in raised beds for beautification. I did one in a girl's home in Gravette. Some of you may know Saving Grace Farm. It's a center for girls, and I put in a garden for them, and I think it was about 9 or 10 raised beds, and it's absolutely beautiful garden. We raised that garden up in a whole day. They had about 80 volunteers, built the little greenhouse, which was a kit, put up the fencing around it, and the 9 raised beds, and installed all of the soil and everything, and then all of my plants were brought over and they put them in. And so there is definitely a way to do it if you need it. I tend to mix up everything. So I may have some perennials, and then next to that I'll have some peppers, and right in the center of that bed I'll have an okra plant. And I may have some squash that rolls out. I may have some watermelon that rolls out. It depends on your space and what you have available. If you only have one raised bed and you like a lot of things, then just experiment with it. What is it going to do? It's not going to hurt you to experiment. But if you have the space and you can grow more, then do that, okay? So, but for knowing companion planting, you want to mix up your families, diversity above and below the ground, support the healthy soil, and you want to make sure that your herbs and your flowers, you know, and your veggie beds, that they attract pollinators. I like to mix up different, I bought this alyssum over at the dollar store. Now, I don't know how much of this is actual seed, because this is already mixed up so that you can just go and do this in your yard or wherever. So I'm not accustomed to using box things, but I bought this and I thought I'll bring it and show it that this is another way, ease of garden. But this particular plant is great to grow next to tomato plants. It is really good. Last year, I don't know about you, but I don't have bugs and things growing in my garden because I use a lot of plants that they love. I'm not a big fan of marigold, although I have them. I don't put them near my tomatoes because they attract aphids and different things, and they will eat on those, but they also attract so many that they will start to spread onto the tomato plant. So I don't typically have marigolds on, you know, in my vegetable garden, but I like to have them around the borders of the garden. So that's usually what I'll do. But they do all of those things attract pollinators and beneficial insects that you need to have in your garden.
What was the flower in the box?
Oh, it's pronounced, I think, alyssum.
Alyssum?
Alyssum. Yeah. There's no I, so alyssum, but who knows? Somebody could pronounce it differently. Yeah, you can pick these up at Rockwell Nursery. You can pick them up at the one in off of the main road there. I can't think of it now, but you can get these at Lowe's and Home Depot. I don't usually promote those guys though. Go to the little small mom and pop if you can, and help them out. But then they spend more time with their plants. I had a picture that I did a little YouTube video for a group of people the other day, and I just toured 5 nurseries. And I went in, I picked up the plant, and I weighed it against the plants that I had brought with me. And I bought them, and I took them out to the car, and I did the video. And the plants that they told me that they had brought in, they were dry. I pulled the roots out, and they were all straggly. And I pulled the roots out of mine, and it was healthy and strong. So when you're buying these plants in the big box stores or any of the stores that, even the small nurseries that I've mentioned, caring for plants and watering them is a big business. You go in the nurseries and you see the water guy. I did that one summer at Rockwell's actually. And my whole job, that's all I did for 2 hours. I had to go around the whole nursery and water. Watering is a big deal. And if you miss a plant, I can remember he would come out and say, "You missed that plant." I said, "Calm down, you know." I was just bending down and scratched my knee, you know, whatever. But, you know, so it's a big business. So if you go in and you're paying your money for this plant, you need to check it out. So for me, I usually check it. I take it out of the little box or pot that it's in, and I look at the bottom. And you can do that. I also make sure that I choose plants that have doubles in them, because I want to get double for my money. So if you're getting a pepper plant, look through all of them. Try to find the one that has 2 or 3 or 4 extras in there, so you're getting more than one for your $3.99 or $2.99. I'm not a big fan of buying plants because I think they're so easy to grow. But those are just some tips that I think might be beneficial. You want to keep your soil active and covered. Even in a raised bed, you want to keep. So if you've got a raised bed and you've got just one plant here and one plant here, your tomato plant there, and you've got a trellis up for your cucumbers or whatever, but you've got all this soil you can see, just go over and get a bag of that, the stuff that we feed horses. What is it called? The shavings, okay? Get a big bag of the shavings and use that. I used that 1 year in my garden, and I'm amazed. Everybody in the neighborhood, their gardens, we had a little drought that year. I think it was in 22. And everybody's gardens were dried up. They came over, "Tarsha, why is your garden still so producing? They don't look droopy." And I said, "I don't know." And I said, "Let me see. I tried something new this year." And I had tried those shavings. I got some from another Tractor Supply, I think. And I got it from there, or either it's one of those. I don't want to promote anybody. So, and I bought a big bag of it. And sure enough, it soaked in the soil. And it worked in my raised bed. So I ended up using it a little bit sparingly with mulch around the other garden. And it makes your garden look very attractive, by the way, because you're covering up the soil and any dead leaves and things like that. You're clipping it, it falls in there. And it's just such a great thing. So those are just a few tips on that. You want to focus on supporting the soil life and attracting natural pest control instead of relying on, perfect pairing. So like I did that okra plant. And does anybody notice that when you have okra, like nothing bothers it? Does anybody notice that? You don't ever get an okra plant that's covered with bugs or any of that, do you? No, I've never seen it. So why would I not want an okra plant around, right? Okra and radishes, I try to put them through the garden. So I might have, in the raised bed, you may have your raised bed here. All along the sides of the raised bed is where I would put the radish. So you would just go in and you would just put one radish in each place. Say you're not fond of radishes. So then go in and every couple, spots, put maybe one radish, one lavender, one herb of your choice that you love. One preferably that doesn't get real bushy, okay? Because the bushier herbs, you want to give them their whole corner or spot, which you can fill a garden with really good, parsley and thyme and sage. They will fill your garden bed, so you won't have any extra space. And then around that plant, I would go ahead and tuck in there either mulch or those shavings. Okay, so you can fill a raised bed very well. And then right here, I would have maybe tomato plant, and in between, I may have, a bush bean. That would be a really good companion. And so you just want to make sure that, and Arkansas Extension has a great companion planting guide for Arkansas. And they really offer that. That is all online. So you could just Google Arkansas Extension, and it's going to bring up the University of Arkansas Master Naturalist or Extension Service, and there is all of the things I'm telling you and a whole lot more. They actually have a planting guide for almost every vegetable, and I used to carry those around, and I don't anymore because it's a lot of paper. The other thing I was going to say is the one that I love to grow too, that I've noticed that doesn't get a lot of bothers from bugs or anything, and they come out so healthy, are turnips. So I like to fill them in, and so what I would do is any extra spots I have, I'll throw a turnip in there. Because remember, your roots go down, your root vegetables go down, and your other vegetables come up. So if you have a tomato plant that's coming up that has really good roots, a radish plant has very small roots, and it's just going to be under there. You're going to have the radish there. So you can really, have fun with that. And then a lot of the peppers that I like to grow these. So you want to make sure that you're reading the back of it. I don't typically do this, so I'm going to tell you, but I should tell you to do that because that's the right thing to do. So do read the packet and know your zone. I think we are now, it changed. I think we're 7B now. Don't quote me on that because it did change. We might be 7. We may even be 6B. It just keeps changing. I don't know if that has anything to do with climate change or what, but there was a massive article that came out last year, and it said Arkansas is changing their zoning. And I thought, well, that's just weird. I'm not going to, pay too much attention to that, but I think that you guys should. Okay, so that is pretty much it. I think that's all that I wanted to say on that. Any questions? Good. I'm glad you don't have any. So what I want to show you is, people ask me that, they say, well, one of the things that I think is really important is that you understand that you can buy seed starting mix, but you can also make it. Now, I bought this because of time. I always run out of time when I'm doing these things, so I'm so sorry, but I just want to make sure I do everything that I want to do for you, and then anything after that we can, whatever. Okay, so this is seed starting mix. So say you buy this, and I got the cheapest one, but this says $5, right? I think that this might fill up that tray. I might be able to do maybe 5 of those. I'm not so sure because I usually typically don't do that. So what I might do is I may go get some potting soil that I love. And the one that I really love is Happy Grow. I just love that. It comes in a big bag, 3 cubic feet, I think, and it's just really great, and it's rich. It has everything I need in it. So you want to make sure that when you're buying those bags that you look at what's inside of it, and you buy the one that has all of the nutrients that you need. And again, go onto that resource because it will tell you everything you need for your soil and for your area, and that's really important. The purpose of this class is just to tell you, don't listen to anybody about rocks and what you grow things in. Gardening is easy, and you can grow food in almost any container. And that's the point that I would like to make. And then also that you can start your own seeds. So this is a bag of potting mix, right? Seed starting. Does that say seed starting, right? Okay, so see how much you get in there? So when I get started making seeds, I don't use this. I'm only using this as an example to show you, but let's just pretend that this is my vermiculite and this is my peat moss, okay? So this is what I use when I start seeds, is I'll take a bag of peat moss, and you can read the ingredients on the seed start too, and it tells you, let's see, sphagnum peat moss, which you can buy a big bag of that. Vermiculite, you can buy a big bag of that. Perlite, and a wetting agent is in here, and lime for pH balance. You really don't need the lime because the seeds the coating on the seeds, they have everything they need. Seeds have everything they need as far as, you know, being able to grow. You just need to make sure you put it in a growing medium, but it will grow. Give it water and give it a growing medium. So I would take a bag of peat moss in a container like this.
So we're pretending like that's peat moss.
I'm sorry?
That's not peat moss, is it?
No, because I didn't,
Okay.
I didn't,
Yeah, yeah, we're pretending
I
like.
didn't grab any when I came. So I would have a bag of peat moss like this, okay? And just pretend that this is peat moss,
Yeah, yeah.
okay? So I would do that, and this may have peat moss in it, let's see. Yep, it has peat in it, it has, sand and composting rice hulls, and so I do use rice hulls sometimes if I can find them. I also use coconut, hulls too. You'll probably see them, they usually come in a tight box, kind of like a rock. How do I say that? Like a sealed, tight,
Compact brick.
compacted. Thank you, you're so smart. You know, I mean, you should be a gardener. You should be,
I tried.
you
I
try?
want to try.
And what, you're trying or you tried?
I want to. I haven't started yet.
You gotta start. You gotta start right now, like, I can put in your house tomorrow.
That's what we're here for.
Okay, so and then this would be, for example, my, vermiculite. So I would take this
But it's not.
and I would put it in here, okay? Come on, we're in the library, use our imaginations.
That's right.
Okay, and I would do it. I would love for you to see what vermiculite looks like. It's like a kind of a grainy looking, okay? And so I would do that, and I would go ahead and mix that together really well.
Are we gonna help you?
Yeah, you're gonna,
Okay.
okay. So you just mix it up, and if you're one of those that need a glove, then, you know, definitely do that. And so you mix that up, and then I would take perlite, and I would mix that in. Now, I would be measuring it 2 to 1 or whatever. I'm not gonna do that right now, but I'm telling you that that's what you wanna do. And there's so many YouTube videos online that you can actually watch, even by the University of Arkansas, that you can watch to do that, okay? One thing I have learned is I have tried everything, and it all
Everything?
worked. So, it all worked. I don't know this woman up here, guys, just in case you're wondering why she just likes teasing me, I guess. So, and then I just mix all this together, okay? And look at how much more I get, or I can just go buy this one bag. So go buy your big bag of peat moss. Yeah, you gotta store it in the garage or somewhere. Go buy your vermiculite and buy the ingredients that are in here. And remember, any extra ingredients it will say on top of peat moss and vermiculite and perlite, you don't really need it, and you can add worm casting if you want. And that is what I have when I do 700 seedlings every single summer. I use this mixture, okay? This is all that I use. And that is why I was telling the librarians, because I would bring plants to people here, and everywhere I go, I drop off plants. They said, oh, you should do a class, you should do a class. And I said, I don't want to do a class. I just love planting, and I love growing plants, and I love everybody should have a garden. And she's like, but a lot of people don't know. And I said, well, you know what? I will do a class, because I think that if more people knew the shortcuts, then they would probably not be so timid. Because it's not that expensive if you're doing these shortcuts, right? Okay, so what I have here is I have, so we can't really do, you know, like you would do it at home, because we don't want to really mess up the library. So I have these spray bottles. If I was home, I would probably use, you know, I would actually wet this really good. I would get it really good and wet, so it's wet, and then I put it in here. And once I put my seed in, then I would spray it, okay? So we're not gonna mess up the library, but I thought maybe if you guys wanted to take home one, then you could do that and be able to do that. And then I have these 3 that if somebody is really wanting to start, then I will teach you that. But I would like for you to make sure that I receive a photograph of these babies growing, for sure, okay? And so the way you would use this, and we'll set it up, you know, you would just need to put water in here, and I usually put about halfway, like that, and then I spray when the spray bottle works. Make sure you get the spray bottle to work right, because these spray bottles, I mean, honestly, I don't understand this stuff. I mean, where does it come from? Why doesn't it spray, right? That's just weird. So this would move your seed, so you don't want that kind. That might be okay. This might be okay, without this on it, maybe. Maybe somebody else knows how these work better. I don't use this kind. But anyway, so be careful with this. But then, so you fill it up, and then you go ahead. So I'll show you real quick how we do that. And again, this will be a lot finer. This is something I got from the store, and it is not what I normally use. I just needed it for this class. So normally, it wouldn't have all these sticks and things in it, so you don't want, this is another reason why making your own is so much better. Because if you buy this stuff in the bags, a lot of times there's so much other stuff in there mixed in, so you don't want that. And also know that when you go and get compost, you're going to get other things in there, trash, all kinds of things, so you need to screen it. And you could use anything. You could use the little screens that you have for when you're working in your kitchen. You could use those, or you can make your own screen. There's screen that people, old screens that you can get from the thrift store, and you just cut it out and put wood around it and make yourself a screen. There's all kinds of ways to make a screen. Okay. So basically,
Embroidery hoop, take the screen and put it over between the embroidery hoop.
yeah, you could do that too. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so for me, what I normally do is then I take this, and everybody doesn't do this, but if you don't do this, there's air
Can we
pockets.
stand up here and watch you?
Well,
I'm
I'll
not
show
sure they
you.
can see.
You can do whatever you want. So I usually just press it in like that, so that it's not, so you can get rid of the air pockets, okay? Okay, so basically that's what you do with that, and then once you press it down really good, okay, and then make sure you don't have the soil coming out on the side, so you want to just kind of dab. And you guys are going to come up here in a second. So I like to make sure it's all nice and clean. I'm just going to do one to show you, okay, like that. Okay, so that's how it should look, like that, okay? And then I would spend more time, because I would be at home or wherever in the greenhouse, and I just press these in, and I love doing this. It feels so good. It's like massage. It's really good. It's meditational. It's really great. So I love doing that. And then I would put my seeds in here. But again, make sure it's wet, okay? So then I go ahead and I would just wet it. And the seed's not in here now, so it's okay. And when you put the water in the bottom of the tray, it's gonna soak it in, okay? All right, so that's basically what you would do. And then, like I said, I have seeds here. So we'll do some, the way these seed pots work is, they're like, well, you can break them up like this, or you can even cut them up. It's up to you how you want to do it, but I tend to leave it so I can recycle it and use it next year. So you would actually prepare the tray and everything and get your water in there and just sit it down in there. And so it's pretty much ready to go. And then at that point you can put your seeds, and I just take, once I put my seed in, I take a little bit of soil or, growing medium, and I very gently just drop it on the seed. Just make sure it's covered. Because sometimes I use multiple seeds per pod. Does that make sense? So who wants to do it? Yay, come on. Okay.
Let's go.
All right, yeah. And if anybody, if you want to do a small container, you can too, and you can just do that. So come on this side. Just come up here, it'll probably be easier. Well, you'll have more space, I think.
So this is, I know you said you were kind of pretending like there's other stuff. What's wrong with this medium?
No, you can use this. We're going to use this.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to use, so see how I'm pressing this like this? So just press it in really good. And there's all kinds of at home different kinds of spatulas and different things I use to press it in. I actually have a board that I put here that has the
Let's get
holes,
into it.
and I sit the whole board down, and that presses it, so then it's just one shot. That's how we do it over at Samaritan Farms. And I meant to mention Samaritan Farms, which is, I guess it's a ministry of fellowship. You can go there and volunteer. They have a pantry. It's in Lowell, right on the corner of 8th Street and Lowell and Rogers. And they have a beautiful farm there. So yeah, and I would just pull those pieces out and,
And then you just sort of set the seed on top and sprinkle some
And then sprinkle
soil
salt.
over it.
yes, right on top, yep. So yeah, if somebody wants to do one, you wanna do a whole tray? If you wanna do a whole tray, you have at it.
Last year, he got me a raised bed
Oh, great.
from the dogs, and everything just sort of died, except for the
Ooh.
movers. So I didn't know if I had too much in there, or,
Yeah.
even my tomatoes, we only got like 3. The tomato plant itself was really strong and big.
Wow.
But it only had 3 or 4 baby tomatoes, cherry tomatoes.
I think if.
Wow.
So I'm afraid to take one of these and get brown with them and ruin it.
No, well,
So I'm gonna adopt this tray.
no, I think you will do fine.
I know, I see.
You still have your raised bed?
And the dirt we use for miracles and stuff. I don't know, I didn't know.
Yeah, I don't typically use that, but,
These would be better.
no, not these, but if you wanted to get a bag of, Happy Grow, yeah, or one of those like it,
So that's what
you can stop into any of those,
Is that what you're suggesting, that we can take one?
yes, White River Nursery, you know.
I'm not shy.
Oh, yeah,
So I thought that'd be fun.
yeah, okay, yeah,
Everybody
sure.
do
And
this.
so,
There's more.
It is
Yeah.
what I do with it, so like,
Sure.
this is just getting the seed ready. and
Yep.
then
Do a
I'll
little
just-
break, I
I'll
got
like-
these in
I'll
the
just
dark.
pull it out and then I raise that.
yeah, so when you're done, you just lift, you can just, use your finger and pop it up. A lot of times you just squeeze the bottom and it'll start to come up, yeah.
Like the ones that are.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and if any are hard, just take a little knife and just stick it in there and push it up, yep. And if you wanna just put it over on top, that way you'll be
These are.
a lot less.
Kind of looking at what you're.
And I usually just fold it down, whichever way is comfortable for you.
You can run a knife on it.
Yeah, pretty much, it really is, depends, it's up to you.
So where's that librarian?
Yeah, and these bags for sure, and I knew that. But, so, what did you want to do? Did you want to take anything?
Yeah, I should probably.
You have a garden?
Well, she's in her garden club.
That's what I'm thinking.
She's bringing home these little cut up milk.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, I don't know what to do with this.
So the cut up milk garden is okay. You know, you just, actually you can kind of make a little greenhouse with them, because you put, I meant to say with those, bags, like these plastic bags, a lot of times, thank you, I will take a tray and I would put it into the bag just to give it the greenhouse effect. And then my seedlings come up so much quicker that way. Yeah, yeah, but I don't, as soon as they come up though, I take the bag off. So when you give it the greenhouse effect, you need to remove the plastic, even the dome. A lot of these come with a dome. Remove it as soon as the first plant comes up, so that you're not having that. So, get yourself. No, you're fine. They already know that they're gonna have to push it a little bit. Okay, so I have this tray right here. Do you want to do this one? So basically, just continue to press, and then anybody who wants to put in, let's see, let's do, and I like to put my seeds like on something, but I didn't bring anything to, this is why you want to do this at home, where you have all your stuff. And I'll just put it here, see how little they are? You can take them, and you're not gonna remember where you put them, because they're so little and dark, right? So I'm just gonna put a little bit here, like that. And I usually put labels, okay, so you know what you have.
How do you label them?
I usually just use like a popsicle stick.
Okay,
or-
and you
yeah.
just write on it with like a Sharpie?
Yep, and stick that in there. Yep. So if anybody, did you want to do anything? I got right here. And so what I would do then, I would just try to do, all of those would be radishes.
Just put several of them in there.
Yeah, I would, yeah, because, and then when they come up, you either can cut off the stems of the ones that you don't want, or you can plant all of them. I usually don't thin out, because I just can't cut the babies. But a lot of people thin out, and that's okay too. You can thin them out and just keep the strongest one. And then I have these little things here if you want to go down there and do one of those. And so basically, so say you wanted to do one of these, right? And you wanted to do, I'm gonna show you what I do to get a lot of plants growing fast.
Do I put only one seed in each of these, or could I put two?
You could do multiple, or you could do two. Which ones are you doing?
Doing beans.
Okay, so maybe 4 or 5 of those.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you're gonna break them apart. So then I would do this with this, so this one is, and then this is so great because I could just take a Sharpie and write on here what it is. I love using these. And then you just cut the bottom of this, just use a knife or scissors and plant the whole thing. But if you put multiple like I do, you can leave one in there, and then take the others out. They were at the dollar store, but I get them everywhere. I find them all over.
Like Dollar Tree?
Yeah,
Okay.
Dollar General.
Dollar
So I'll take about that many, and then I just do like this. Okay, so I know for sure that they're in there, right?
Are we past the seed growing stage at this point?
No, ma'am. And I wish that I would have brought the picture, but I didn't. Last year, I was doing some work at a,
That's all that was left of the seed catalog.
oh, really? Wow. Wonder why.
Where the seed grew.
I put that garden in from seed in June.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because what happened is that, the water problem was there, and I had seeded the whole property already in May, and actually in April. And, I didn't know that it had no water. And so, I went out of town and I came back, and they had not gone over and mulched it, and it was loaded with weeds, the entire thing. So I had a friend, and I use a no-till method, I don't use a tiller.
Right.
But I had a friend that had to come and till it for me. And I walked in front of the tiller, and as I walked in front of the tiller, I grabbed the weeds. It goes to tell you how much slimmer I was and stronger, but I was doing CrossFit at that time. So I was just walking in front of them, grabbing the weeds, and I pulled them all out, and they did the rest and put that garden in. I said, no, this garden will not die. And I was able to, and the reason I walked in front is I wanted to save the ones that were there.
Sure, yeah.
And I did that, but then I reseeded rows, and that garden grew massively. I think we ended up saying that Green Pantry's got about 50 to 100 pounds of food every single week for the remaining of the summer. Yeah, so it's never too late. I put in corn one time for a friend in late July, and they were like, "Why are you putting this corn in here? It's not gonna be," and it grew. You know, so it's totally up to you. I would not, if you get motivated, I would just put it in. What is it gonna do? You know, what's gonna happen? You might not get a full harvest, but you might get some. And, but if you're trying to do like a full garden because you want tomatoes and things in, late May, early June, mid-June, then yeah, you need to seed early, but that's when you start doing this, like in January or February. Yeah, but I companion plant, and I also succession seed, so I'm seeding every week. Yeah, every week I start new seed. And I've not seen anything, and actually I'm glad that I do that, because a lot of friends will say, oh, I lost this, and this ate this, and I had someone text me just the other day and said, 3 of my tomato plants now, they've grown up so beautiful, they're about this tall. She said that something ate it. So I said, it's okay, I got plenty growing in the greenhouse, I'll put some more seeds in.
Yeah.
So it's good to keep them going for those kinds of instances. Do you have a big garden?
I have like 4 or 5 raised gardens.
Okay.
That I use, and I have been able to grow a successful amount of stuff, like a bouquet of carrots and all of that. I haven't done as much from seed. 1 year I did, but, and you're right, I usually put in stuff in May, June, unless I'm doing cold weather plants.
Okay.
And then, you know, you'll get a tomato in July.
Yeah,
And-
yeah.
And then really, I think July and August is when we start seeing the most of our stuff,
Okay,
especially for hot weather stuff.
right.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to take some lavender?
Yeah, I'd love to take some lavender.
Okay, I just put it in here and I'll put some swirl on top of it.
Awesome, thank you.
I didn't bring my marker, so you have to just.
It's okay,
Right
I don't
on it.
remember,
Okay,
but I love it, it's just so therapeutic to
it
garden.
is, it really
And I
is.
think it's easy, because you're doing food as opposed to just flowers.
Right.
You get a return on investment.
Right, exactly. I mean, this lavender too, man, my daughter makes lavender ice cream and she does a lot with it. I mean, there's so many recipes, so, you know, check out some of the recipes. Oh, this is dry on top, you can just water it later.
Were these just all planting mix and you just pretended it was?
Yeah, one was actually a seed start, and I was like, I gotta take this back, cause this is ridiculous. It's, you know, you got barely any, I think that one bag of seed start, and that's about average. I think it would have actually, just done a tray, you know, or maybe two, but not really, so.
Thank you very much, and cold. Thank you.
Yes, and I told them to turn it up, cause I'm so hot. I'm good.
Cold for me.
It's too cold for her. Did you have any other questions?
No, thank you.
Okay,
Great.
thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, and if there's anything anybody else wants to grow and take home, please do. I would love to see everybody starting their seed.
Could I start
We
with?
do have some
Yes, and then just take them out and plant them.
Plant them, like, when should I take these out of here? Like, does this just stay outside, or just leave this outside?
So when you're taking them out of your seed tray, you want them to be mature. So you want them to have at least 2 or 3 true leaves. I don't do that. I wait until they're at least about this big and they look nice and strong because I have the space and I don't need to rush it, but typically wait until your plant has, so a tomato plant, you want it to have about probably 5 leaves, and that's kind of the best way I can tell you. Because if I tell you true leaves, you're gonna be wondering what those are. So when you're looking at a tomato plant, and it's a baby, it's gonna have these 2 little plants, right? And you're gonna, no, don't touch it then. And then 2 more will come out, and then there'll be some other underneath. So when it gets about 5, I feel good about 6, and then it's about that long in that tray, probably about that long, then that you can take and put in a pot this size, okay? And then if your weather is ready and your ground is ready, or your raised bed is ready, then you would take it from here, and in these you can just plant the whole thing. But if you got multiple in there, you gotta break them apart. And then I'll just compost the pot, you know, something like that. So,
My grandmother's name was Cora,
mhm.
so
I've got raised beds that I've used for a few years.
Mhm.
my daughter supports. But we know it.
I've got dirt in there, should I take that dirt out and start all over? Or
You can take it out, or what I usually do is I take it and I put it in one of these, and then I go ahead and redo my raised bed. I'll put fresh new logs and sticks and bricks or whatever I use, and then a lot of leaves and things like that, and I bring it up, like I said, about halfway. And then I take that 2 or 3 inches of soil, whatever I'm using, and then I go ahead and put a layer of peat moss, very thin layer, and I put a layer of vermiculite or something like that. You may not need any of that, but if you got a good raised bed soil that you're using, mix it with compost, and then throw that in there, and then you can mix back in, little by little, your old stuff. Yeah.
I have a question about the compost, like, because I don't know exactly, is it coffee and eggshells and coffee?
It could be anything in the compost, depending on where you're going. So you really, and the one, somebody mentioned one, but there is several in Fayetteville, and I've called them. And do you know that they will tell you what's in their compost? But if you go to the city, they're not gonna tell you what's in their compost.
But, I mean, if we make our own, is it just, does it matter?
If you make your own, oh yeah, if you make your own, you just don't put meat in there.
Okay.
But yeah, put lots of greens and lots of, yeah, you can put your coffee grinds. Just don't do too much coffee, it's acidic, but kind of balance it out. Make sure you have, and there's a really good composting spreadsheet on the Extension website.
Okay.
Look up Arkansas Composting Extension, just put that in the search, and you should be able to get that coming up. And I should have, you know what, I have my laptop here, I could have brought that
I have
with.
a composter at home that I bought, and it's, like she said, just eggshells, trimmings from vegetables.
Yep,
Pretty much everything but meat and dairy.
Okay, so what do you just grind it up or?
No, I usually just throw it in there, you know,
Is
even
that
if you can,
done?
kind of break it up. And I have like, it's like a drum on a stand.
They have
Hmm?
in their backyard over there.
Yeah.
I see it sometimes from our.
oh, I brought them with me, but they may
Turn it.
have those.
Every now and then, it,
Yeah, they
it's
should
gotta
have
get hot,
those.
when it gets hot, that's when it'll really break down.
Something that
Yes.
I learned from Gladys Tiffany,
Did you
who's the
fill your
director
tray out?
of the Omni
I did
Center
the-
for
oh,
Peace
okay.
Ecology, and I forget the last word, is you can take a
It's up
bucket
to you.
of Lowe's or
I'm afraid that
Home
it's gonna, I'm hoping it's gonna
drill
grow, like I don't even know
side
how
of
to
it.
Did you fill it up?
put it like a
well,
couple,
this is,
what you call it,
this is,
shovelfuls of dirt, and then basically buried into the ground
wait,
to
that's
where
not
there's
right.
only a couple
This
inches
is-
above it. And then that makes for an amazing
This is
at-home
lettuce.
compost,
This
because the
is-
worms
oh,
will get
these are
into it,
turnips.
Okay.
eat it all
This
up,
is
you don't gotta do anything, you just
lavender, and
throw
this is
whatever you want in
peppers.
there.
Okay,
The Omni Center has
And this
4 or
is
5
how
of
I don't
those and
have
collects
okay.
compost from pretty
So-
much all of
Is
its
it right?
members.
Yeah,
And they get
so,
like literal buckets
so
full of
basically, you
compost
just put
every
the
couple
layer on
months
top,
that they
right?
just give away.
Okay,
Oh, that
so I
makes
would just
Is that
kind of,
one
because what happens
The
is
Omni
they
Center?
start to grow,
Yes.
they follow the soil sometimes, and so just, you know, just kind of knead it up a little bit.
So we had friends that were.
So
I
that
really don't have any idea what I'm doing. Last year I didn't, I just jumped in and started doing it, and I just planted a bunch of stuff, and then it started off, I mean, all the plants looked really good, but then nothing really matured except for the peppers. We had lots of peppers, but that was it.
You know,
Just make sure when you get home, you fill this up about halfway, and keep it in a sunny spot where it's not gonna get tipped over or knocked over or anything, because once you knock it over, what I like to tell people, instead of throwing it away, sweep it all up and go throw it in your raised bed or outside, and see what pops up.
Can I just set it in my raised bed with all the water in there?
And I've got like a little canister.
Is it
about
high?
this big, about this tall.
Yeah.
That I got off
And nothing's gonna
Amazon.
bother it, yeah,
And
for
I don't
sure.
want it to smell, and
Yeah,
just out on the
just
counter,
if
and
it
then you
rains
just go
though,
dump it out.
it's just gonna wash it all out.
Oh,
It's
it's
like a special.
Oh,
bed
okay.
and then we
Put the raised bed under the.
And it's a filter.
on the patio, on the
Giant
edge of the
flower
patio.
pot in my backyard.
So how do you get sun in there?
From the.
Because
The
it's,
door
it's,
with
it faces west.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow, I've never seen a raised bed on a patio.
well, it's like the size, it's like the size of.
Oh, it's one of those ones that, yeah, so you can roll it and move it.
Well, I wish we could roll it, it doesn't have wheels.
Oh, okay, I've seen those.
But, yeah,
Like
you
the
gotta-
wooden one?
Uh-huh, he got it for my mother, for Mother's Day.
Oh, okay, okay. So you might have too much in here to fit in that. I mean, how much space do you have? Okay, well, you can share it with your neighbors, because you can take care of them, right?
You can actually get these growing, I hope.
Yeah.
I mean, just keep them watered and keep them in the sun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there you go, and get buckets and things like that.
It's got the old, the soil from last year though, should I pull that
You can
out?
mix things with it, but last year's okay. But you should probably add more to it, some compost, or just get a bag of raised bed soil, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, from one of the nurseries. So I would probably, so how are you gonna know what you have though? You're gonna remember?
Majority of my backyard is a garden. I do a lot of meal prep already, and I already tend to cook for around.
You know what you can do? You can take a picture and you can put
I like.
the ones, the packets
I
that
have a
you use right
dehydrator
on
and all
top of
kinds of
each,
stuff that I use to.
Okay.
okay? And take a picture, and that way you know what each pot is.
Just make sure you don't turn your tray.
And these are both the same. Well, what I was gonna tell you was then take something and stick in the corner, so let's see. Oh, and then I had this little thing I wanted to tell you guys. So they have these at, this is a coco core, so these will just expand, okay? So you throw that in your pot, your raised bed, whatever, and it will expand. So I bought a few blocks of this one year, threw them all in a raised bed, and I just soaked them and soaked them and soaked them. It took 3 or 4 days, and they all expanded, and then I mixed it up real good and added compost to it, and it really did well. So this little deal here is, what is this?
Sunflowers.
Did it say
That little
sunflowers?
packet. Yeah, it said, it said
Okay,
on it.
so anybody wanna take a sunflower cocoa core?
What did you call mine?
I'll try one.
Okay, it's,
So we're
you,
gonna put sunflowers
you
in
take
the
it
bag.
home and you have to, follow the directions. I had a little paper to it, I don't know what I did with it. What'd you say, I'm sorry?
I was just saying, what do you call that? What'd you say it was?
Cocoa core, yeah. Coconut shavings or
Oh,
coconut shells or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, they've made it into a block, you know, and, oh, there it is, sunflower bamboo. Bambino.
Where did you find that?
This was at the Dollar Store,
I
so
was
the,
gonna
so the
say,
Dollar
that has
General
so
has a
much.
little plant area. Okay, so you're all set? So let's see, what do you know what you have in here?
From here to here is green bell peppers, from here to here is lettuce, and then from here to here is radish.
Okay,
And then I have these ones still left. I was thinking about putting lavender.
okay, great.
Fine.
You have lavender?
Oh,
It is right
Oh,
here.
okay. Do we have any more? I think we
Yeah,
should.
there are some.
Okay,
There are some.
great.
Yeah.
Nora, a good apple.
And actually, I think this might.
Really?
This might be,
You don't have one window?
this is radish.
I'm growing a spider in one window.
Okay.
It's managing, but there's not a lot of real estate for it to grow.
Oh, wow.
I know.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Next year.
Yeah.
Year.
So, let me see here.
Looks right to me. So, when these grow, when they grow,
Yes,
because we're gonna make them grow,
yes,
then we gotta move them. We gotta find a happy place for them.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Just the sunflowers? No.
And you can, so remember, like, I think I put a bunch of seeds in yours. When they all start coming up, let them get their leaves, get about 2 inches high, if you will, okay? And, so they'll be coming up when you're planting about that high or so. Then go ahead and separate them, okay? And then you can separate them into more cups
Okay.
or whatever you have, like drill a hole in the bottom of a yogurt cup, okay? And just go and grab some dirt out of your yard even and throw that in there, something, and then just pack it in. The thing people forget to do is you need to pack it in.
Okay.
Okay, get rid of air bubbles, pack it all in. And they're wondering, why isn't it growing? Why isn't it coming up? Too many air bubbles are in there, you got to pack it in, okay? And then what I tend to do is once it starts coming up, see all that empty space, I add more soil, or I may top it off with some vermiculite or some peatite or something like that. And that is really good to do, to help it to just continue on. It gives it nutrients, things like that, so.
And what is that one? Or
I
I did, let me see. Oh, did you just plant the whole thing?
You can plant the whole thing, but if she has multiple in there, then she may want
I
to.
did multiple.
Yeah, so she may want to separate them, and then you can put one back in there and plant the whole thing, so.
So just press these down even though there's seeds in there?
Yes, but you're doing it gently, it's like you're not moving the seed,
Okay.
so just do it very gently. You want to press it really good before you put the seed, but I see some
Yeah, I
of
need
yours
to-
is not really.
Not pressed enough.
Once you cover it with the dirt, it's okay, you don't have to press it.
Okay.
You've already, yeah, I'm sorry, did I confuse you?
Oh.
Yeah.
So once you put the dirt over it, you don't need to press it again?
Right,
Okay.
yeah. Then I would just go and make it, see how this is all nice and clean? Because the seeds, the plant will follow the soil, so you want to make sure that you don't have too much extra. Just, make it all nice and clean. And then again, you fill it up halfway with water, And then to know that your plant needs water, just open it up. If it's dry there and you just tap it and it's dry, then it needs it.
Can you
They
explain what that
typically
means?
don't need to be watered too often when you're using these. And a spray bottle is more than enough. Just, and that's good enough.
You said that.
So get you a good spray, and I don't need to take all these. If anybody needs a spray bottle, you're welcome to take one. Yes?
You said if you tap it and it's dry, just add more water. Are you talking about under here?
Yeah, just lift this up and just pour, use a water bottle or whatever, just pour some water in there. Just treat it like a baby and you're good to go.
Pour on water. Or does that go with this?
Yeah, that goes together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Did you want the sunflower thing to grow?
Yeah, if it's okay, I'll try.
Yeah, sure, yeah. I don't want to take, I'm taking my books home, but Okay, did everybody get plants to take? Everybody get something started. And I got all these pots, you're welcome. If there's a pepper, you can put one seed in here or two, and then thin it out. If you just want to just grow from this, and you let it get really tall like they are at the store, you could do that. You don't have to, put multiple seeds in. So. Yeah, I'll take a picture of you now, and then you guys, when your seedlings come up.
They come up, when they grow.
Okay.
You're gonna know it.
Yay! All right. And you're gonna text me the first, you got my number and everything? Let's see. Let me just,
You got it, right? There's the whole part.
So since I'm intending on basically turning my entire backyard into a garden, would you like to
Wow.
also send me pictures of that as a gift?
sure, that would be great.
How soon do we expect it to start to sprout?
Oh, really?
At the very.
7 to 10 days, but it's all different on the back of your seed pack.
Where the bees were.
There's a 14 days.
Catalog, and there's some.
Yeah.
I think we have
Okay,
bees.
what is your number?
Mine is 479-305-4601.
I think it's all in those. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna text you this
But they'll be restocked.
Oh, yeah.
Before everyone leaves,
Jeremy and I have been doing cookbooks this whole time from what's on available.
Oh, good, okay.
Yeah, I'm excited, I want to it grows.
we do have a massive gardening collection upstairs on the 4th floor.
Oh, good.
These books back here, you're able to check out today if you want to. Or you can go up to level 4 and in the 635s, you'll find all of our gardening books. And also we have a program evaluation in the back. If you have time to fill one out, we'd appreciate it. And you can put it in the basket over here by the door. We also have event calendars for more things coming up this month. And if you would like to send a postcard telling our government how much you love libraries, we have some postcards back there as well.
Awesome. Great, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Wow.
So that's really cool that there's
Great. Yeah, so did you get everything figured out? You're doing good here?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Her whole key it's weird, given it goes for mountains, I bet you do.
Man, but I was only there for 2 years, and I'm telling you, I didn't get to see hardly anything. I spent a lot of time at the Rocky Mountains. That place is amazing. I had my first blizzard, and it almost.
Yeah, it was pretty, you were there in.
Yeah, but she lives in California.
2018 to 2020.
Oh, yeah. That was after me.
Do you have a water bottle at home?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so do spray it like that, okay? Just lightly, and then every day, come in, check it, whatever, but, and even if you have to move it onto a coffee table tray, what do they call those? Like you want to eat at your chair?
Yeah.
You would think I can't speak English. Yeah, TV tray, dinner trays. You want to sit it on that and, move it around in the sun, you can do that. You just want to go out there and talk to them once they start coming up. You could do that. That's all great. Play music, things like that. If you have them inside, and I forgot to tell the ladies that you got to move them in and out. If you do that, if you have them in for any amount of time, you got to get them acclimated to being outside before you transplant them.
Okay.
So if we got like a big storm or something, you're like, oh, I got to bring them inside, like heavy winds, because a heavy wind will just knock that, that'll blow that right out of the raised bed. So just keep an eye on that. So yeah, just 7 to 14 days. So probably in the next 4 to 5 days, you might be sending me a message because you've got such a variety in there.
Yeah, I hope
Yeah.
something grows.
It will. No, I don't usually, if you're growing with me, you're gonna have stuff that grows. That doesn't, I've never had that happen, so, yeah. And if it doesn't grow, we're gonna be meeting up and we're gonna be reseeding that tray because something's gonna grow. No. You welcome. What did you end up getting? Let me see.
I did a cantaloupe and a
Okay.
Yes.
Because you're gonna send me a picture of that.
I did a cantaloupe and a cucumber, and I've got some very questionable looking tomatoes and some milk cartons at home.
Okay. Well, I think that's
We'll see how
fine.
that goes.
Guess what? I think it's fine.
I'm trying to be the mom that's like, okay, yes, we can do that, but I don't know how to grow anything.
You stop it. You're gonna get those babies growing.
I know.
You have so many cucumbers, you're not gonna know what to do.
Exactly. You don't even know how many seeds are in those cucumber deals. That's funny. Well, the schools, they want the kids to grow stuff, but then sometimes they let the kids do it and they'll put like 30 seeds in there. I did that once with a group. They dumped the whole thing of radish seeds and the whole thing of turnips. I had thousands of turnips coming up in my raised bed because the lady, she just said, oh, I don't know what to do.